let's do a read and let's talk about that crazy Guardians win from last night.
Yeah, guys, you've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something different for you today. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of Sunday NFL Ticket through YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, if you have a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to download America's #1 sportsbook.
So if you guys went to bed at a normal hour, you missed a crazy, chaotic ending to the Guardians-Yankees game last night. The Yankees took an early 2-0 lead on back-to-back home runs off Matthew Boyd in the first. The Guardians fought their way back. There were plays at the plate. There was great defensive plays, and then some great bullpen pitching until the 12th inning where the Guardians put a 5 spot on the board, ended up beating the Yankees 9-5. Or was it a 6 spot?
It was a 5 spot.
Well, they ended up beating the Yankees 9-5. Earl, you talk about a game that had some ups, some downs. We saw the good part of Matthew Boyd. We saw the bad part of Matthew Boyd. We saw a great bullpen performance. At the end of the day, that was a hell of a win by the Cleveland Guardians to knock off the Yankees in the Bronx in 12 innings with that kind of heroic and clutch hitting we saw late in the game.
It was a fun game to watch. Like, them janky-ass Yankees, right? Anytime you can beat the Yankees, like, that's a good thing, man. Bleep the Yankees. Like,
especially in New York.
Especially in New York, right? You send them home late night, like, miserable as hell because they stayed there all game and they got outslugged by the Cleveland Guardians. You got all those big bats in the lineup. You know, Matthew Boyd came out there early. It looked like it was going to be a long night. You give up back-to-back home runs to Aaron Judge and Juan Soto. Like, that's usually tough to overcome. But, you know, outside of leaving 20 men on base, the Guardians outplayed New York for the majority of the game. They out-hit New York. New York had more home runs, but they came to play. You know, solid bullpen outing. I thought it was fun. And it was important to bounce back after getting swept by Milwaukee, throw some runs on the board, you get game 1. Now I think it's imperative to go out there and actually win this series now.
And it's Cantillo versus Nestor Cortez today on the mound for Cleveland and the Yankees, a lefty-on-lefty matchup. Jason, what'd you take away from last night's extra innings win over New York?
Lane Thomas has a pulse.
Let's go.
Finally.
Let's go.
It's been a miserable start for him. Obviously, he had the big hit to really start to break the thing open, and then David Fry came up with the bases clearing hit. Soto, I thought, should have come up with that catch. That looked like a lackadaisical effort at best from him in right field. Guardians probably win that game anyway, although you don't feel as good with the 2-run lead. And Barlow gave up 2. You know, you had the Yankees coming up at the top of the order that next inning. But a huge win, and coupled with the fact that the Twins would look like they were in control of their game last night, and they blew it late to the Padres. So you gain a game on them. So there you see it 3.5 on both the Twins and the Royals. Huge to start that series. It's a big series in New York. I mean, the Guardians have the best record in the American League. It's by 1 percentage point, but they have the best record in the American League. For as much as we've poo-pooed them the last couple of weeks on how aggravating it was to watch them in Milwaukee, and it's hard to get a read on these guys sometimes. There's so many holes in the lineup. They have the best record in the American League. So ultimately, you can't really be that upset with them.
I called them cockroaches yesterday in the best way, Jason. Well, after the first inning and Matthew Boyd gives up back-to-back homers to Soto and Judge, you're like, well, they're dead. But no, they're not. And the best part about last night's game was the Guardians continue to find ways to win that are the little aspects of the game. Base running, fielding, and the bullpen. The 3 things that aren't the sexy things you talk about. It's usually hitting home runs in your lineup, your starting rotation. Well, the Guardians, they can pitch. They certainly can hit. But last night, you talk about base running. In the 3rd inning, Noel, the slide around the catcher's tag to score the first run of the game, got initially called out. Stephen Vogt challenges. He ends up sliding his mitt just across the plate before he gets tagged. An excellent slide. That leads to the first run of the game. Fast forward later in the game, I believe it was the 8th inning, when Trent Grisham's pinch running for the Yankees. Their pinch hitter, Austin Wells, hits it off the top of the fence. Grisham, and then I sent you the tag board for it if you want to play it. But Grisham, I mean, that's absolutely horrific base running. He gets gunned out on the plate by a throw from Roque. That wasn't even a good throw, but Bo Naylor makes a terrific play. Watch Grisham here. This ball was 3 inches away from being a 2-run shot. He's limping, jogging around, makes a terrible turn at third. He ends up getting gunned out. That's a 2-run difference. If he scores here, good chance the Yankees end up winning that game.
Yeah.
You talk about in the field, Daniel Schneemann makes an incredible diving catch in center field to start off the 7th inning. That would have put a runner at least on second base with no outs for the top of their lineup. And then you mentioned the Soto play in extra innings. Yeah, there's a good chance they still win the game, Jason, if Soto makes that catch. But you go from Schneemann going full extension for a terrific play in center field to Soto. I don't want to call it a lazy play, but kind of lazily ran past that fly ball. And then the bullpen was terrific again. I've said it before. I'll say it again. The Guardians' bullpen is the single best weapon in all of baseball. There's not a lineup. There's not a rotation. There's not a single unit in Major League Baseball that's better than the Guardians' bullpen. And shout out to Clase, who went 2 innings last night. And it's the little things. It's all the little things this team does that have them with the best record in the American League right now. In all of baseball.
Stephen Vogt has alluded to that time in and time out, that when this team is playing well, it's because they're doing all the little things right. And even when things are not going well throughout the course of a game, if you can continue to just stay consistent with doing those little things, then eventually breaks will go your way. And that's what makes the game of baseball fun. I think at one point the Guardians was like 2 for 17 or something like that with runners in scoring position. And so, like, if you looked at how the game was playing out, you wouldn't have seen the 12th inning coming, right? And not only did they put the go-ahead run on the board, but understanding that you're going against the New York Yankees, and you add on and add on and add on to make sure you can secure that victory. It goes back to what you said. It starts with the little things, the fielding, the base running, right? Just the understanding the nuances of the game. And if you can stay consistent with those, and that's when the Guardians are at their best. You know, we might not do everything great, but we do so many things so well that if we can just continue to lock in on that, we'll do it. We'll take care of our business and, you know, do everything that we're trying to do.
And you know, I said multiple times, I have no faith in Matthew Boyd. But to get as far as he got last night after the start that he got
5
off
and
to,
a third, right?
Yeah, you get into the 6th inning in Yankee Stadium against that lineup, that's a win for him. And yeah, he gave up the 3 runs, but after the first inning, after you get through Soto and Judge, settled down a little bit, some command issues. But hey, if you get that every time out from Matthew Boyd,
run to the bank.
I'll take it.
Yeah, you got to.
If you get him into the 6th inning and you hold a team to 3 runs and you give your offense and your bullpen a chance, that's all you can ask from him. So as far as I'm concerned, you're 2 for 2 with Matthew Boyd.
And the most impressive part of Boyd, and you touched on it earlier, that first inning could have been a catastrophe.
Yeah.
It could have.
I mean, seriously, you give up a home run to Juan Soto. It only hit 340 feet. It wasn't like it was an absolute rocket shot, but it's a home run. You follow that up, okay, you give up a home run, no biggie. Calm down, let's get the next guy out. Aaron Judge sends one 375 feet into right center. At that point, it could completely unravel. We're talking about Matthew Boyd here. It's not Tanner Bybee. It's not prime CeCe Sabathia. It's Matt freaking Boyd. And from that point, Jason, he had 1 out, allowed 2 runs. He pitched 5 innings of 1-run baseball after that.
Yeah.
You can't ask for much more, and it continues. We said it before. It's worth continuing again. The Guardians find ways to wring every ounce of talent and production, more on the pitching side than the hitting side, from essentially anyone they bring into that clubhouse. It's incredible.
Just think about it. You know, you're bottom of the 1st inning. You're in New York. It's not just the fact that you gave up back-to-back home runs, but your psyche plays on the fact of who you gave up those back-to-back home runs to. And so if you look at you giving up home runs to Soto and Judge in New York in the bottom of the 1st inning, it's like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and it didn't go left. It could have easily went left. He found a way to kind of like manage and get through it, and the bullpen showed up. But the Guardians put some runs on the board, and that was missing. And to see them come through in the clutch when you got 0 hits from Juan, you didn't get a hit from Naylor. Jose went 1 for 6, but his hit came in the most clutch situation. David Fry with the pinch hit, 3-run triple, things like that. It was just timely hitting. And just staying consistent with it and getting that dub, it was huge. It was huge.
Curious to see tonight. Cantillo, obviously both bullpens are taxed. I don't know if you'll see a move today. I don't know that necessarily they need to make a move, but they definitely need to get a little bit of length out of Cantillo tonight. And the Yankees exhausted their entire bullpen last night, too. They had nobody left by the end of the game. I have no use for Nestor Cortez. I think he's trash. I think he's a joke. And he's a janky pitcher who uses nonsense tactics because his stuff ain't good enough, as far as I'm concerned.
Jason, I'm curious. Back to the boy, keeping his composure in the capacity he
He's
did
a veteran.
last night.
Yeah.
How much is that player versus manager and pitching coach kind of settling it? And what have you heard this season in terms of Stephen Vogt? And obviously he's a catcher, so he has more insight into that relationship and how to do that than most managers.
Yeah.
How has he kind of handled all this change in the staff, but keeping them kind of all even keel and on the same temperament, good or bad?
I think they relied on Carl Willis a lot.
Carl Willis.
Just for the entire season. That's why it was so important for him to come back. And there was a moment, I think, after last season ended, to hear Carl tell it, he was always coming back. To hear the Guardian side of it, they were concerned. They weren't sure if he would follow Tito out the door and if he would retire or if he would come back. And he has been such an important figure, even going back to when I was out there in spring training and how everyone was looking to Carl because most of these guys were new in their position. And he was the one guy who knew how things ran. And obviously this is an organization that knows pitching, that knows how to squeeze every ounce of talent out of what you give them. We've seen it time and again. We've seen it with Ben Lively. Now you're seeing it with Matthew Boyd. And Boyd's a veteran. He's been around. And he's not going to get rattled. He's pitched in Yankee Stadium plenty of times before. I'm sure he's been hit hard in Yankee Stadium plenty of times before. But to see him bear down and to see him hang in there and to see him pitch into the sixth was it was huge. So hopefully that can continue. That's all they need. How many times I sat here and said, I'm worried about October, set this thing up for October. You're going to get to October. I don't know, Matthew Boyd's going to play an important role for you in October, but he's going to eat a lot of innings over the next 5 to 6 weeks to get you to that point, and that's all they need. They need someone to give this bullpen a relief every now and then. If you can get him, I'll take 5. You can get 5 out of him, that's a win every time.
And we've talked about this bullpen. I keep saying it's the single best unit in baseball. You look at the guys they pitched last night. They had more arms to go to if the game continued. And you look at the Yankees, who they're literally separated by half a game for the best record in the American League. The Yankees bullpen was over, done, finito. They had nobody left.
Yeah.
They started pitching, and I mean this respectfully because I can't pitch. They were throwing bums out there. It was the bottom of their barrel in terms of their bullpen of who they had left had the game gone to the 13th, 14th, 15th inning. The Guardians had 3 or 4 more guys who they could have put out there, and I would have said, yeah, he's going to shut them down. Yeah. I feel pretty damn good about that situation.
They had 2 left. They had Avila, and I forget who the other one was, because Avila was up warming.
He was warming up, and I'm fine with it.
And there was one other one, too, that they had left. But you're right, the Yankees.
The Yankees were done.
I forgot the guy's name, Tonkin or whoever
Tonkin
was.
came in at the end.
That was their
last pitcher.
He was going to finish it out for them.
And that's my point. This bullpen only needs the starter. If he could get 5, I feel so confident in this bullpen shutting down the rest of the game in the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th. With any combination of the 6th, 7th, and 8th leading to Class A in the 9th, you can mix and match however you want, Stephen Vogt. All those guys are good enough to, on any given night against any given lineup, shut down the opponent. And that's such a luxury that most teams across baseball, maybe not a single other team across Major League Baseball, has, that Stephen Vogt has in his back pocket on any given night.
Just think about it like this, right? For the Guardians, it's typically a race to 3 to 5 runs. If the Guardians can get the 3 to 5 runs before you 9 times out of 10, you're probably not going to beat us, right? Because of how we play, because we have that bullpen. And looking ahead to tonight's matchup, I think tonight's game is going to be important to try to jump out and get an early lead. You talked about Cantillo, like, talk about your welcome to the show. You get the Phillies, the Orioles, the Twins, and then the Yankees. Right?
That's a good point.
So, somehow, some way, if he can just manage through, like Jason said with Boyd, even him, just give us 5 innings, right? Give us 5 innings, but this is going to be one of those games to where you're going to depend on the offense to put some runs on the board early so that you can, one, save your bullpen, but you're going to need some help from this kid. Hopefully he can manage. It's going to be tough for him. So
it'll be interesting. We talked about Matt Boyd keeping his composure after giving up those 2 home runs in the first. If that was Cantillo, who knows how a rookie pitching in Yankee Stadium for the first time reacts to that situation. And Jason, I don't know enough about Cantillo to make any kind of educated guess on how he would handle that. But has he pitched in pressure situations in college? Was he a kid who came straight out of high school? What's his background in terms of these pressure-packed pitching situations he may have faced up until this point of his career?
I mean, nothing like what he's going to face if he stays in this rotation down the stretch. this will probably be the biggest test he's had to this point, pitching in Yankee Stadium. I was actually just looking for an off day to see when they can catch their breath a little bit. They don't have an off day until next Thursday, a week from tomorrow. So they're going hard for the next 7 days. So Joey today, Gavin tomorrow. We saw Gavin he got hit around pretty good against Milwaukee, and you want to see how he bounces back tomorrow against Garrett Cole. But you're right. Like, two things can be true. If you get 5 innings out of Joey, just like you got 5 out of Matthew Boyd, you take that and you run with it. It's just the fact that it was an extra inning game kind of gasses you a little bit.
Yeah.
And you don't expect to play, especially with baseball's new rules, you don't expect to play that long every night. So I guess it's Gavin. Gavin's the one that you got to try and get some length from tomorrow. You can't expect Joey Cantillo to walk into Yankee Stadium and pitch into the 6th or 7th inning more than likely. I don't even know if Gavin's going to do that. But they are going to have to catch a break here at some point because they don't have another off day until Thursday. And
Clase pitched 2 last night.
Yeah,
so I'm assuming,
he's probably down today.
Yeah, I'm assuming he's not going to go today.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's the first time I think Zach Meisel tweeted. First time he's gone more than 3 outs in 73 appearances.
Which tells you what that game meant to Stephen Vogt.
He managed that like a playoff game, like everything was on the line. And frankly, I love that from Stephen Vogt.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
I know
necessary at this time of
Yeah,
year.
I know you can't do it a night in and night out, and not every game can be managed like that, but I like how he kind of picks and chooses certain games on the schedule that he says, we're all in today. Like this matters for one reason or another. This matters, and we're going to do everything in our power to try and take home a dub.
Well, not only are you getting close to September, but this is obviously a huge series against – this is not a division rival, but this is a team you're going up against for the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
So this is a really important series. So, yeah, you have to play you have to manage these games like they're playoff games because in a sense they are. And you'll get some breaks in the schedule. You don't have to manage every game like this over the next 5 weeks. There'll be some gaps in some teams coming up here where you can sort of take a break a little bit and not have to worry about throwing Clase 2 innings. But in instances like this, yeah, you play to win the game because you don't know how a win on August 20th could affect the standings on September 30th.
Not just that, but, I'm looking at the American League standings right now, and it's Cleveland, Baltimore, the Yankees, the Twins, and Kansas City. And so to your point, when you find yourself in a series against these opponents, these are the times to where, okay, let me manage this like this is a playoff atmosphere. It's going to build confidence in my young guys. It can help you at the end of the season when it comes down to the division standings, but it can also get you prepared for October when you meet up with one of these teams again. Interesting, as I'm looking at this, I don't think none of us thought that at this point, when you look at the top of the American League, you would see 3 teams from the American League Central sitting up there in the top 5.
No.
I mean, I said the division was going to be better than people thought, and
Yeah.
I should use that as my bold prediction.
Yeah.
Friggin' Tanner
You did tell us, though, like, you had me thinking.
But you kept saying
he had me
Detroit,
locked
though.
in on Detroit. I was just about to say that.
Well, I did think Detroit would be better, but I thought
You
the
said the whole
division.
division. You said
the whole division would be
I thought the
competitive.
division as a whole would be
Yeah,
better than
and
people
it
thought.
has been. It has been.
Yeah.
Been much
Absolutely.
better.
Yeah.
I mean, not Kansas City. Chicago's been significantly worse than
Yes.
even the
Yes.
lowest of expectations, but the
Yeah.
other 4 teams have been
Yeah, Detroit
at
did
level,
flame out a little bit.
or
Torkelson
if
didn't
not
have
up,
the
yeah.
year. They had some pitchers catch injuries, I think. And
It's crazy, too, because Flaherty and Scoop have been terrific.
Yeah,
but
they
outside
have.
of those
Outside
two,
of that, it's-
it's been absolutely nothing. Last thing on the Guardians, we'll move on, talk a little Browns here. You don't see many extra inning games go to the 12th now. Like, that's kind of a rarity
I
with the
know.
runner starting on second base.
I hate that rule.
Well, I want Earl to go first on this,
Yeah.
because I know how you feel about it. I'm kind of torn. Depending on the outcome that the Guardians lost last night, I'd probably be like, I hate that rule because they won. I kind of enjoyed the extra level of tension each inning starts with the guy on second base.
I hate that rule.
It made it to the 12th,
I hate it.
and you still don't like it? Okay.
I hate that rule. That rule is the stupidest rule in the world. Like, you got to earn your right to be on base. Especially, like, if they take these same set of rules into the playoffs and then, it comes down to a situation like that in the World Series, that's a tough pill to swallow, like, to lose a game when, it don't even count as an earned run. If you see, like, the bullpen stats I did today,
It's one
like
run.
1 run, 1 earned run. Like, you didn't earn that. So, hell no, I don't like the rule.
Is this the playoff rule, too?
No.
Right, playoffs, they go back to regular. Okay, yeah.
And I get why they do it. Like, they're trying to save bullpens. Imagine how long last night's game could have gone had they not had a runner at second. I get the logistics behind it, but you don't go to NBA games, you don't start shooting free throws to determine the winner in overtime. You don't change the rules. Like, you can't play by one set of rules for 9 innings and then change it up. That's sorry, Ant, that's what soccer does. That's stupidity. Two things I hate about soccer. You never know when the game's going to end. They just randomly blow the whistle. Extra time. Okay, now we're done here.
But it always starts on
Maxes out
time.
at 6 minutes.
And the penalty kicks. Like, you just change. All right, we're just going to go to penalty kicks now.
I didn't know they changed the rules in the playoffs. It's still stupid.
Yeah,
It's
if it
still
was
stupid.
playoffs, I'm anti. In the regular season, I go back and forth. Like some days I don't like it, some days I do. It just adds like an element.
The one thing I'm sorry.
It just adds like an element of uncertainty to everything.
Yeah.
And one name we keep forgetting about in this Guardians bullpen, they still have Austin Hedges, who has a 0 ERA on the season, who if they had to go to, they can go to. So shout out to Austin Hedges. And the reason the Yankees bullpen was so decimated was Luis Gil had to come out in the third inning.
Yeah.
You look at that pitching matchup on paper going into yesterday. Gil's here, Boyd's here, due to injury or whatnot. It was a perfectly even pitching matchup, and that was the reason the Yankees bullpen was just so shot come the end of the game.
The one thing that surprised me about the stupid rule putting a runner at second, I thought teams would bunt more often.
They never do.
And they really don't. And there's some instances where they do, but they just play it straight up and play it normal. And I thought when the rule was first enacted, I thought, well, this is going to bring bunting back in a big way because you're going to just bunt that guy over. And I still think they should in a lot of instances. It depends where you're at in the lineup, who's at the plate, but bunt him over with one out and then hit a fly ball. Like, it's not as easy as it sounds, but like it gets you a run and it can get you a chance to win the game. And it just, that part of it doesn't happen as much as I thought that it would when the rule was put in place.
And you want to talk about Rocchio's bunts real quick because he actually had.
He
had a hell of a game
perfect,
yesterday.
both of them.
Just want to say I saw this is the Cade Smith defender on Twitter tweeted this out. Juan Soto's home run 340 feet, Aaron Judge's home run 370 feet, Rocchio's home run 403 feet. Makes you think.
I told Ant.
Does he have Aaron Judge like power, Jason?
I told Ant in the chat yesterday. I said, man, I'm at the point to where I think I can count on Rocchio for a home run more than I can from Jimenez right now.
Jimenez just ain't a home run hitter.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Himmy. This is 2 years in a row, which is alarming and disturbing. I'm over the Brian Rocchio thing. Like,
you're not buying the power surge?
No. Enjoy your time in Cleveland because it's about up. He has the rest of this year. And
so does it matter that he hit one in Detroit or no?
No, it doesn't matter. Any baseball player can turn on one again. Bartolo Colon hit a home run.
That's true.
One in his career.
Did Tyvus, though? We'll find out next week.